So here's where it gets really interesting. Getting a little shade, it's nice. So water is this unbelievably sacred entity that permeates all things, from the cellular level to plasma to, you know, like the fourth phase of water. And what I have come to realize through all this study is that water is not only intelligent. Okay, we know the work of Emoto, right? Who crystallized water droplets and, you know, found that the energy affects how those crystals form. But there's a whole other body of work, not just crystallizing one droplet, but actually crystallizing water in a glass after it's been exposed to different things, frequencies, sound, words written on a paper, words spoken, questions, fingerprints, touch, being next to an object, you name it, being, you know, being set onto a picture of something. It's incredible. So you can set it on a picture for 30 seconds, stick it right into the freezer, hopefully not touching anything else in the freezer, okay? Wait just a bit until just the surface has frozen, but not the whole glass, okay? Because you just want that surface level crystallization. That's where she's found. Her name is Veda Austin. She's found like these water crystals end up having an image very much related to whatever it touched or was exposed to. It's a trip. We're talking faces, you know, a hand, a finger, like a very clear finger, okay? A sunflower seed. She puts a seed of a sunflower and the crystal shows a whole sunflower. I mean, clear as day, okay? An actual sunflower. So really interesting experiments they've done. They've done experiments with saliva, with, you know, having just a pregnant woman take a sip from the water and then, you know, all kinds of stuff. And it really makes you think. I'll tell you a crazy story. I was telling my partner this story, and, you know, this is, I hope you take it in the heart that I mean it in, but it's telling, okay? Years ago, my ex-husband and I, somebody gave us a psychedelic, okay? A special kind. And not my cup of tea, but my ex-husband was like, I was like, so what should we do? Like, we were kind of just like in town and somebody was like, here. And then I was like, what do we do? And he was like, let's go swim at the YMCA. And I was like, really? Yeah, I want to go swimming. I'm like, okay. Not what I would have done, but okay. So we go and we were in the hot tub for a bit because I was like, I don't think I can swim laps, dude, like this. We were in the hot tub and a couple people came in, a caregiver and a very mentally disabled young man. And it was like I felt the ripples the second he came in. it was like through the water, I felt the waves of energy hit my body, and like I've never experienced anything like it, where I literally felt like what it was like to be him, to be in that brain and body. And it was so intense. I was like, we have to get out of here, you know. But it goes to show what a conduit water is, right? I mean, of course, it's an energy conduit, but it's also a very wise, you know, it's a repository for energy, for whatever we put into it, whatever it comes in contact with. Not even a repository, it's almost like it creates this, there's this relationship, right? It's a medium for relationship. And I mean, I don't think I can do justice to some of the work that some of these people have done in terms of, you know, these experiments, but I hope that I can give you enough of an understanding of where I'm going with this. Our bodies are made of water, right? So much for fencing, huh? Guess I need to clip some wings. Our bodies are made of water. So if a word can affect the vibration of this glass of water, one word, and we have to keep in mind too that what is a word? I mean, a word doesn't have meaning except for the meaning that we've ascribed to it. So this word, almost like, you know, and what she shows is when you use certain words like marriage or ring, both of those, and she does it like at least 50 times before she's willing to kind of say, okay, this is what happens when water is exposed to this word. Okay, so 50 plus times she does this in different ways, exposing water to the words marriage, and at other times to the word ring. And both of those words cause the water to crystallize into the shape of a ring. A perfect circle will show up in the crystal. So marriage, apparently, in our English language anyway, has a vibration that it carries of ring. Isn't that interesting? It elicits a certain response in the waters of our bodies, in our psyche, because of what it means to us culturally. And the water picks up on that. I just think that's incredible. Okay? So it sure does make you think, though, like, if I am, molecularly speaking, 98% water, what do the words that are spoken around me do? You know? And I think this is where, you know, the idea of curses came from, and the fear of curses. But I also want to bring up, you know, an important point. Okay, so here's another story. The woman who works with hydrogen water and has found that is by far the most hydrating and wonderful thing for the blood. You know, she's also working with other things, trying to help people's blood improve in health, okay? So she might, you know, give people certain supplements or different things, and she's, you know, experimenting to see what their blood responds to, because everybody's blood is going to respond differently to different things. you know, but universally, it seems that the hydrogen water is one of the most universally, you know, improving the blood kind of things. But she said, you know, she did this experiment one time. She had some ladies drink some alcohol. Some old friends got together and drank some alcohol, and then she was going to test their blood, look at their blood under the microscope afterwards. But they drank, you know, and so she's like, what happens, in other words, when you give the body something that theoretically is just terrible for you, okay? Worst thing you can do, right? So dehydrating, I mean, just... But these ladies were talking, they were old friends, and they started just laughing. And, you know, the kind of like deep belly laughs, and just like, just hysterically crying, laughing, right? And she tested their blood, and it was just glowing. It looked amazing. It looked like the blood of somebody that just drank a few glasses of hydrogen water. And she's like, no kidding. So that really makes you think. And it's something that I've long known and yet needed to integrate, right? Because, I mean, I've been sensitive at times to the curses that people have thrown at me, the projections. People will project like arrows, you know, psychic arrows into you. They'll project these negative thoughts, even if it's not words to you directly. It's like, I was so sensitive, I can feel when somebody, you know, I know when people are thinking bad things about me. You know, lots of their own stuff gets projected. Maybe, you know, of course, I'm not perfect, but, you know, people do a lot of projecting of their own wounds onto each other too. And I've had, you know, some unfortunate, you know, enemies made that I didn't want to be enemies with, you know, just because of their projections. But I allowed that to destroy me for a while because some part of me felt vulnerable to it. Because I didn't have the confidence. I was young, you know, I was still creating my ego. I was still getting my center. So, what's up?
I finished all of my school. I don't have any more books.
Okay. Well, go talk to Amru. I'm recording. Please. What are you supposed to do? Okay, well, just do it. Just try to keep it down a little bit. My son. So yeah, you know, it's like people back in the day really believed in curses in a really profound way, and I have no doubt that curses were affecting people, right? Like, if you believe in them, they're going to, of course. If you believe that alcohol is gonna, you know, make your blood worse, then it probably would, or if you're in a bad state of mind when you're drinking it. But wow, how it changes when you're, you know, absolutely laughing your butt off, having a great time, right? So how much of this negative energy influence is actually our own resonance, right? If we don't resonate on any level with it anymore, if we don't fear it, if we don't, you know, fear that maybe it's true, if we don't, you know, it's like words and actions really can only hurt me if I let them. And that's such a hard truth, because at the same time, of course, like if somebody's going to attack me physically or something, let's say, of course that's not nice. You know what I mean? I don't want to like gloss over it and be like, oh, well, you can't hurt me, nothing matters. I mean, that's the danger, right, of kind of some of the spiritual rhetoric, is that there can be a little bit of this victim blaming, but also like then like a passing on of responsibility from the perpetrator to the victim. And there are perpetrators and victims, but how that victim processes and experiences that is going to be a reflection of what is inside, right? You know, like when I was RAPED, okay, trigger warning for you all. Believe me, it ended up being very traumatic, partly because of my partner and his response to it. But as traumatic as it was, and it was, I also tried to choose compassion because I didn't want to be traumatized. So I tried compassion, and I fumbled through it, and it wasn't perfect, and you know, I ended up very heartbroken about the whole thing. But I've also, you know, been able to process through it since, and come to a place of self-compassion as well as compassion for that person, because it's a choice that I had to make. Am I going to be a victim of this? I mean, I had PTSD for a couple years. I couldn't even sleep on my side because, you know, because of the way the incident had gone down. So, you know, am I going to be in PTSD land forever? I mean, PTSD is it's a valid experience. I don't want to invalidate anyone's experience because it is valid. And our nervous system, you know, keeps the score, right? In these ways that we have to then psychologically kind of work through, as well as physically, energetically clear from our system. It's like static. It's like static electricity, or it's like water that has some static in it, right? There's this, you have to kind of be able to clear it. So, you know, not to invalidate that experience, but there's also validity to, okay, how I receive this is a matter of how well, of whether I resonate with it. Like, you know, you probably heard the old explanation of, like, if somebody curses at you in another language that you don't know what they're saying, I mean, you might feel their energy, sure, but is it going to land in the same way, right? If you don't know what they're saying, you're just like, huh? Right? But if it's in your language and you know what they're saying, you're like, oh my gosh, this, like, ouch. Right? So how much of these energetic imprints is a matter of our resonance, or our choosing to resonate with that message? So these are all things, you know, just random contemplations of mine. Like, I don't know the answer. I guess if I did, I'd be enlightened, right? But I'm, you know, doing my best to come to a place of feeling like I have a clear understanding. I've had some very difficult reflections in my life, you know, people that were very difficult. And I perceived a lot of their judgments, my own judgments, right? All this back and forth. And so we have, you know, this beautiful body of water within us, though. And for women, we have our womb water as well, which is this well. You know, it is this well and this wealth of information, and also is a receiver and, you know, a repository for not only sperm, right, but for the energetic communication from the energy body of whatever man we are with. And then we, you know, have to do this clearing process if we need to, you know, to clear that energy from that well of our body, of our womb waters, and to kind of, you know, and I do believe that water can be cleared again of an energetic imprint, right? It's like homeopathy. I work with homeopathy a lot. I talk about it a lot on some of my videos. It's an incredible modality. Why are you trying to chase that chicken? What are you doing? You're supposed to be mucking the chicken coop, not chasing chickens in circles.
Well, I just did that.
Okay. dork. It's my 16-year-old. So, where was I? So homeopathy, right? Or even flower essences, which really are, in a sense, homeopathy. The homeopath, the only difference really is that they will succuss. You pound, you succuss in order to activate and further potentiate that essence. So a flower essence has not been succussed. You can succuss it. But a lot of people, you know, I've experienced the power of flower essences. Actually, one time when I was on acid, I was exposed to a bunch of flower essences and I felt all of them and I was like, oh wow, I get it now. I didn't really, you know, it's like you don't really feel the full impact of that energetic shift. But I sure did then. So, you know, but homeopathy works a little bit on a slightly different principle, I suppose. The way that we give remedies is, it's not like a medicine, like here are your symptoms, this remedy will relieve X and Y symptoms because of these alkaloids and certain, you know, constituents in the plant. It's not like that. And, you know, obviously they work with more than just plants, but it's rather working with the principle of like cures like. And what they mean by that is some of, you know, like arnica, homeopathic arnica, it'll do the same as what the physical arnica will, but you can take it internally, whereas physical arnica you don't. But some remedies, it's also like, and really any of them, it's like if you were to overdose on arnica, what symptoms does it give? And most likely you're going to feel this bruising sensation if you overdose on arnica. Or if you overdose on phosphorus, okay, the mineral, the elemental phosphorus, okay, you're going to potentially hemorrhage and bleed, okay? And so homeopathic phosphorus is great for hemorrhage and bleeding. So it's interesting like that, okay? But the principle of homeopathy also is, you know, we're working with dilution, okay? So homeopathic is a very dilute substance, and actually the more dilute it is, the stronger its effect. To the point where if you dilute 1,000,000 times, it's like a kick in the pants. Like you don't want to take that high of a dilution just willy-nilly. We usually stick with a 30C, 30 times dilution. Okay, so 1 drop of the tincture in 30 drops of water, succuss it, you know, add some more alcohol to, you know, whatever. So it is, it's an incredible modality. And one of the things that really gets me about it all is that we're working with the water element. We are very specifically working with the element of water and our own water's ability to basically instantaneously jump into resonance with the waters of this homeopathic, which, you know, you'll find them in stores in these pills, and those pills have actually had that water alcohol solution dropped onto them, and then it's succussed, and, you know, so the pill has the vibration and that water on the outside of it. Sounds woo-woo, right? And yet people have incredible cures with it, even children and pets, which means, you know, the placebo effect is really not a thing with like a pet, for example. So, you know, it's a very legitimate art form and science. It's definitely an art. It takes a lot, you know, to really, I'm still learning, right? I'm still, probably my whole life, I'll be learning and improving on my skill set. But I just think it's fascinating, you know, that we can use this law of resonance to get into resonance with these elements of nature, really, for the most part. I mean, well, really, anything that you make a homeopathic out of is coming from nature somehow. We have minerals, mineral salts, we have plants, we have some animals, we have mother's milk, we have a homeopathic of sunlight and moonlight. We have homeopathics of, you know, pretty much anything that you will find in your environment, you can make a homeopathic out of. So it's like, if my body is in some way diseased or imbalanced on some level, and it's not like direct, but on some level it's almost like indicative that I have become out of resonance with nature in this certain facet. Like, ideally my body will be this composite of all of nature. Ideally my body will be this fractalized composite of all of nature. Like this many infinitely faceted crystal. And if I become imbalanced, as you know, pretty much all of us are in some or multiple ways, then, you know, I need to get back into resonance with whatever facet of nature that is that most closely resembles the way in which my frequency has become, you know, out of tune, so to speak. So that's how I see it, you know, and in that way I kind of see it as, you know, homeopathically and medicinally, we are trying to bring our bodies, our animal nature, as well as our water itself, back to this beautiful, you know, intricate, delicate, perfect harmony with the waters of the entire planet at once. All the waters of the planet can be represented within this water right now. I could drink this water. I could pray over this water and simply say, resonate with the frequency of all of the healing waters of this entire planetary system. You know, and that water can actually step into resonance with it. And that sounds crazy, but we have this thing called a quantum field where, you know, really, we don't actually have to be even in the same space as another being to be affected by them, right? But again, you know, whether we are affected by it is also up to us. And I'll give you an example. I'm going to turn my water back on so I get warmed up here. Okay, there's this lovely man that I know who's local to me called Ed Edwards. You can look him up. He has a Facebook group, BIRE, it's B.I.R.E, Biointrinsic Resonant Energy or something like that. Ed, EDD, Edwards. He's cool. He's a really cool guy. He has been developing since he was young. You know, he had a grandmother who also had this gift, and she fostered it in him. The gift of, you know, essentially chi. You know, he is able to build so much chi in his body that he, you know, they have these, you know, major studies that they've done on him, testing his energy and his brain and trying to figure out where it's coming from and blah, blah, blah. But he puts off so much voltage. He can affect you. He can push you, pull you, move you around like a top, even from afar. So he'll do it over Zoom. He'll do it over a video from the past that you're now watching, and you can, and it's, you know, and he'll do it without even, you know, he'll be like, okay, tell me which direction you feel yourself getting pulled. And you'll say, and he's, you know, or you'll just hold that, you know, in your thought, okay, I'm feeling myself being pulled to the left. And he'll say, you should be feeling yourself being pulled to the left. And you're like, what? Right? So it's a trip. He really can affect. And, you know, and he's used it for healing. He's also used it to, you know, when he was a kid, he would make kids piss their pants that, you know, had been teasing him, and interesting stuff, you know. He was a mischievous child. And he teaches, he has a kids group that he, you know, wants to teach the kids how to do this as well. But, you know, it's just a wonderful kind of point in case of, you know, the quantum field is a thing, okay? We do have the ability to impact or be impacted by things, you know, anywhere in the world and anytime. You know, if you get into the science and art of extrasensory perception, right? Some of the experiments that were done even by the CIA with, you know, people that had been found to have a particular gift, and what they've realized is everybody actually can develop this gift. Some people are just naturally better at it to begin with, but everybody can develop their ESP skills. You know, but they found this one guy, I can't remember his name, he ended up going all over and teaching people, you know, how to do this, because he was like, look, everybody can do this. But he was particularly skilled, and he would astral project to different places. They would give him coordinates on a map, and he would be able to project himself there and tell them what's there. And, you know, it's, of course, it's of great interest to the government, right? But they also realized he could project sometimes into the past or the future of that place. And they'd be like, wait, what you're seeing was there, but it's not there anymore. What the heck? And, you know, it turns out he's in the past. So it really gets you thinking, you know, you really start to realize that this whole reality is a hologram. Time is a hologram. You know, I've known this already my whole life because you know, people might think I'm crazy, but I remember past lives, and I'm able to see the future. I've seen, you know, a few minutes into the future, and I've seen a few seconds into the future, and I've seen, you know, years into the future. I've seen lifetimes into the future, you know, and I can't prove all of it, but I sure have proven to myself beyond any doubt that at the very least, my more, you know, close future examples have come true. And I'm like, you know, to a T, every word was the same, you know. So it's like, okay, this is for real. Time is an illusion, and it really makes you wonder if we have any free will, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, that's a subject for another time. But maybe, I don't know, I guess I could get into it a bit. But yeah, you know, it all really begs the question of influence, right? And you know, with plasma being this, you know, state of water essentially, and kind of working through this plasma field, you know, to what degree, right, do we have the ability to influence events on the other side of the world through the waters themselves? And I think when we as humanity recognize this far surpasses, in my opinion, it far surpasses even crystal technology. Crystal technology is great. Silica, right? Silicon technology, you know, it's something we're just starting to understand, and I think we did in much more depth during Atlantis and stuff like that. And all of that is great, but what if you don't need a crystal at all because you are the crystal, right? First of all, we have these electromagnetic fields that are crystalline in nature. We have the Merkaba, you know, we have this star tetrahedral crystalline field, and on a further, you know, further out there it becomes icosahedral and blah, blah, blah. So we all are these crystalline matrices, but we are crystalline matrices with plasma water bodies on the inside of that. So, you know, this to me is where it gets really interesting, because, you know, one of the most beautiful things to me is the idea that, you know, this came to me one day long ago while I was praying at a river's edge. And it wasn't just any kind of prayer, you know, it was a very emotional prayer for the planet, for all of us, for our healing. And I cried, I was crying, and I realized, you know, my tears are a literal crystallization. They have these salts in them. The water itself, as well as the salt, is this crystallization of this emotional thought form. This very powerful thought form, which is a combination of strong emotion and strong intention, thought, prayer, intention. And, you know, whenever we have a strong emotional prayer, intentional field, you know, we create a very strong thought field, thought form, that does have the capacity to, you know, create. And, you know, if you've done any work with manifestation, you know this. So this tear coming from my eyes is this crystallization of this thought form. And so I just, you know, gathered my tears and I gave it to the waters, and I said, river, carry this like a homeopathic, like a very strong, because it's very dilute. So the more dilute, the stronger it is. Well, gee, this is like a, you know, infinity, you know, homeopathic being carried from the river to the ocean to the entire world, right? And I thought, what a beautiful thought. And also after watching this Flow Summit and learning more about this, you know, the crystalline nature of water imprinting, you know, it's like I already got it, and yet now my mind is even more blown open, and I'm like, I have no doubt that this has medicine, that our tears have medicine, that our, you know, even our spit, even our, you know, we can speak these prayers with our words, right? I'm speaking this prayer right now for the healing of all nations, for the healing of Israel and Palestine right now, that all beings may come to realize the truth and may work together again to rehabilitate and free all beings, and to heal all nations, and to heal their land and their cultures and their people, and to work together so that everybody can have what they need. And so my spit contains this prayer, and I can put it into the water. And while this water doesn't carry down a river to the ocean, it still is the holy waters of the matrix of creation. And this water has the capacity to carry through the quantum field to all other waters. May all other waters in this entire world resonate at this frequency that I have created with my intention, with my word. And can you imagine if you had 100, 1,000, 1,000,000 people who understood this concept, who understood the power and potency of their words and their water wisdom. And if we all gathered at the rivers, at the oceans, at the lakes even, and spoke our prayers together by the droves, by the hundreds, by the thousands, gathered in a collective emotional prayer, with our tears, with our spit, with our water, with our plasma bodies, with our electromagnetic crystalline bodies at these waters, and resonated those waters with that frequency of healing together. Can you imagine how big that would be? I've always known in my heart that the waters themselves can be cleaned and purified, healed, even very devastated waters can be healed and purified with our prayer and our intention. I have always believed that and known that. And even, homeopathically, gosh, my teacher had some students doing these experiments with, a pond that was super scummy, had all that green filth growing in it. And it was kind of suffocating the pond, right? When you have too much of that, all this green algae. And so they got some of the algae, and water, and diluted it in a blender, and then, and succussed it, and basically made a homeopathic potency from this algae water, poured that back into the pond, and within 24 hours, the pond was crystal clear. Now, it's hearsay. I haven't done this experiment. I would love to. But imagine, if that is true, imagine, could we do that with an oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico? Or could we even do it just with our intention and our prayers, right? Where is I don't see any end. I don't see any end to the immense healing power of this truth. Okay? I don't see how, we are infinite in our potential. We have only begun to just get the tip of the iceberg. Everybody these days, it's like modern science, they think that they are the most advanced civilization, most advanced science, most advanced archaeology, architecture, and yet, you look at Egypt and they just go, I don't know how they did that, but let's just gloss over it because, we need to maintain our superiority complex. They must have had slaves pulling bricks from, it's just absurd, some of the things that come out of some people's mouths. Obviously, probably anybody listening to this right now is like, yeah, that's hogwash, right? There is this, what a surprise. Here we have it, another wave form. There is this flux, this flow, this, peak and trough of consciousness that happens over time. We are in I'm sorry, flat earthers, but I'm going to have to call you out here. We are in a round Earth, in a round solar system, in a round galaxy, in a spiral, in a constant spiral through space. We are circling, but we are actually spiraling through space. And we are spiraling through time, and we are spiraling through consciousness. And so even though we're going around and around again, we are waking up, right? The Yuga cycle, right? We're waking up, we're falling asleep. It follows the precession of the equinox. It follows this wobble, okay? But I believe we are also spiraling. So every time we come around, we don't fall asleep quite as much, and we don't, and we wake up more. And I think we have this constant evolution that's happening even within our devolution evolution cycle. So that's why here we are just barely out of the Kali Yuga, okay? We're about 235-ish years by my calculations out of Kali Yuga and into the ascending Dwapara Yuga. And yet, it's amazing how much consciousness was maintained even in Kali Yuga, that there were and are beings that still understand a fair bit of the spiritual architecture, the crystalline nature of reality, You know, there's a lot of information available to us, and the fact that, you know, I can be speaking to any of this so soon after Kali Yuga, I think is evidence enough of the fact that, you know, we do have all of the pieces already that we need for our ascension process. We don't need to relearn everything, in other words, because the information is available. We are part of this quantum field that includes past and future. It includes the Akashic records. We have our personal Akasha, you know, our personal Akashic record, and we have the collective Akashic record that we can access any of this. So, you know, it's just a question of when and how and at what point do we, you know, like, what is my function? Well, I've come to find that my function is to get people praying to the waters. It seems so simple, but I had to understand some of the science behind it and really get impassioned and get involved with homeopathy and all these things to come to realize, wow, you know, there are people doing homeopathy now just with a word on paper. You don't even need the physical substance to make a dilution anymore. You just need the word on paper next to a glass of water, right? I think there's validity to that. It sounds woo-woo. At first, even I was skeptical. I'm like, really? Come on. A word, like, but okay, maybe there's some validity to this. Maybe you don't even need, you know, like she spoke of, gosh, I wish I remembered her name. I'll put it in, I'll share it in another way, in another form. But, you know, you can put the word rest. Somebody that has sleep issues, you put the word rest on a piece of paper, put your water glass on top of that, drink that down daily. In a handful of days, suddenly you're sleeping better. People have noticed these things, you know? So it's like, do I even need the right homeopathic for my chronic, you know, sleep issues, insomnia issues? Like, you know, for me at one point I took carcinosin, which is made from breast cancer tissue, and it's a great remedy, don't get me wrong. It's a great remedy for all kinds of things, for chronic, you know, trauma, sexual abuse, all kinds of things. Carcinosin can help a lot. It can help children a lot, you know. But do I need that, or did I just need the word rest on a piece of paper, you know? So maybe we overcomplicate things sometimes. I don't know. But I needed to, you know, come to all of this to be able to just come to this place of saying, gosh, guys, will you come to the waters with me? I want to go to the waters together. I want to gather groups of people all over the world. I want to have millions of people at the same time on the same day go to the waters nearest to them and pray together with the same prayer and intention and thought field, and see if we can actually majorly shift things in an instant just by holding a collective prayer, even if we're not near water, right? Because we're all water bodies. I think this really is at the core of how prayer works. What if what I'm doing when I pray is I'm actually resonating the water molecules in the environment near me and in the quantum field, through the quantum field, to anywhere that I want to project that consciousness to, that prayer field to. I'm able to resonate those water molecules to my intent, right? So maybe I don't even need to be standing near a body of water, but I think there's utility to that too, or maybe a beauty to it, or maybe you know, even just a catharsis to it. Just you know, it's just meaningful to gather people at the water's edge. It's what we've done for millennia, right? We gathered at the water's edge. Some of the most beautiful places I've lived and the cultures that I've been in Hawaii, in California, at the Yuba River, some of these places where the water, there was a beautiful water feature, a certain beach, a certain spot on the river where people would gather, and they They would sing and play music and paint and massage each other and swim naked. And, you know, the beauty of that culture, right? Gathering at the water's edge, even just to gather your drinking water. Women gathering at the well and hearing the latest town gossip while they're there under the guise of doing an errand for their family. You know what I mean? This has been our way for millennia. And then, not to mention, gathering at sacred waters, the sacred wells, at the healing waters, you know, of Lourdes, or of, you know, gosh, even in Hungary, I visited some incredible hot springs that had these rich, sacred, mineralized waters that were known for healing people. You know, all over the world, there's healing, sacred waters that, by the way, most of them have hydrogen in them. That may be a big part of their healing, and the minerals, right? But a lot of them actually have hydrogen naturally bubbling up, these bubbling springs, okay? So gathering at the water, I think, is a symbolic gesture more than anything, and yet a very important one, because it's so primal to our human nature. It's so primal to our human nature. So, you know, this feels like my life purpose now. Aside from, you know, maybe being a homeopath and an herbalist and a massage therapist and a birth worker, and, you know, helping babies be born into this world, and helping women heal their pelvic floors, and all of the other things that I do. I think predominant, and interestingly enough, that my, you know, my birth work is under the name Nourished Waters. My hydrogen, water, and frequency technology business is The Ripple Effect. But part of me just thinks maybe I should put it all under the blanket of Nourished Waters, because that's where it's at. You know, that's where it's at. That's even what this tattoo on my chin is all about, you know, and people talk shit about me, but this is one of the most universal symbols for women across the world. You know, I pull this and my forehead tattoo really have a deep root in India. But yes, there are Native American tribes and Indonesian tribes and Indian from India tribes that have 3 or 5 lines on the chin, and it's the women who do it. And, you know, for every one of those peoples, it represents something a little different. It's your children. That's what this is for me, my children. It's the waters of life. I think there's this instinctual knowing that the woman, her voice is her source of power, and her womb is a well that is overflowing through her throat chakra, out her mouth. That the women carry a wisdom, they carry a knowing that comes from being the holders of the well water, right? And so we have this universal symbol that I think women should be allowed to wear everywhere. I think women everywhere have permission. I'm giving you permission to choose this symbol, because it is across the board all over the world. The women have these lines. And for me, it's red because it's also the blood, right? It's the waters of the womb well. So, you know, I did this tattoo in 2012, December 21st, as my dedication to the waters and to the Mother Earth. And even then, I had no idea. I sort of did. I had seen bits and pieces of it, but now it's all coming together, and I'm realizing how deep this work really goes. And I'm rededicating myself today, here and now. I declare it, that I am dedicating my life to the waters, to the healing of the waters, and to the healing of the lands, the soil, to all of it, to the healing of all nations, of all peoples, of all hearts and souls, through the waters, through that one elemental that carries its frequency to all of life, through even the quantum field. And this dedication for me is many lifetimes. And it's many lifetimes in the making. It's many lifetimes of doing my best to remain dedicated to the path. But also, you know, we're coming out of the dark times. And now, things might seem darkest before the dawn. Things might seem like they're getting worse. But I think it is actually, we are moments away from a collective awakening. We are in it, and we are moments away from a major purging and healing that can and will occur when all of these hearts, these awakened hearts, realize their own power and are able to come together, no longer in competition, but in cooperation and collaboration. That is the name of the game. Hallelujah. That is the name of the game for this time, for all time. Collaboration, cooperation. That we are able to join our hearts in prayer and elevate the frequency of this planet instantaneously because of this incredible ripple effect. Let us raise our hearts in prayer. Now's the time to heal her. Let us raise our voices. It's the time to heal her. Waters of the earth be cleansed. Find your balance with the earth. Don't fear, for time will tell. Love's here in this dipping well. Mother, please be light, a message for the children of earth and sky. Father, please believe that we are growing from your seed, but all our power comes from her. And if we follow, we will be birthed back into the star seed, of our true birth, masterfully painted in our true nature. It makes me almost think that maybe the winds are the waters. Maybe it is just earth, fire, and water. The Holy Trinity. I had this song, my heart song, arrive to me one night in its entirety. I happened to have a recording device nearby while I was in the bath in a garden in Hawaii at night under the stars. I call it my heart song because it is everything. It says everything that it needs to be said. And I knew for some reason the breeze came through, this gentle breeze, and it brought me this song. And I knew somehow that this song was coming on this wind from Siberia. Sounds crazy, okay? But years later, and you know, it's my most sung song. Years later, I was listening to this lovely Siberian shamanic, incredible singer, Olax. And one of their albums, just for a moment, it wasn't one of their whole songs, but just for a moment, I heard the melody. Like, it was just this, almost like this musical transition in their album. And it was this melody that I had heard come from Siberia. And I've always felt like I have, you know, there's some root, like, I've had a lot of lifetimes and, you know, I don't remember all of them in detail. I don't need to. I don't even want to. I need to be able to do my work here and now. But I know that there's a connection to Siberia for me and to the reindeer herding, you know, and to the reindeer herders of my people, my genetic, you know, root in Norway. But it moved me so deeply to realize, wow, I think this tune came actually on the wind from Siberia. And then as I'm thinking about it just now, I'm like, and I'm listening to these birds and I'm watching this wind flow through the trees, and I realize it's no different than the flow of water. And if we are all these water plasma bodies, and if everything actually is communicated through this water plasma field, this quantum field, which I think is non-different from the water plasma field, then maybe wind actually is water. I mean, even if you think about it, wind, these currents are actually created through, you know, cloud, you know, currents and formation, and, you know, these changes in pressure and pressure waves that come from the water, right? So maybe wind actually isn't even its own elemental. It is an extension of the waters themselves. So I feel like maybe I'll sing you my song, because I've done so before, but why not? I don't remember my whole waters song that I was just singing. I have to memorize and actually kind of nail down the words, because some of my songs end up just infinity long. But this one I have in its entirety, from Siberia to Hawaii, on the plasmic water quantum winds of time, space, infinity. Feel the wind. Feel the wind. That's the key. Hear the music. Feel the wind. Hear the music. Just begin from these feet. Make amends with your presence. Feel this empty wind moving through. You are far from your windward side, and yet you feel the wind blowing you home again. Shed your tears no longer. Just begin to feel her whispering for time to be unfolded before you, and yet again open your eyes to the light of it. Empty-handed, you walk towards the one. Do you seek for something that's to come from the future? Looking back behind you, feel the answer coming through. Know that you are not alone in this place. You have a home, it's called grace. And love moves you. Feel the land beneath you and be in this moment and be in this moment and open wide your hands to feel this land fall through the cracks between your fingers and make yourself known. Make yourself known as a lover of this, so you can reap the benefits of a loving relationship with your heart, with your mother, us now to see how that we may love you more, and to open the sea for its roots to dig and explore the ways of asking, the ways of asking for this nourishment, the ways of asking, the ways of asking for this nourishment. Holy of holies, holy of holies. Call upon your greatest ancestry to follow you back in time to the beginning. Call upon your greatest foes that you may come to know your fears, know your fears, for they contain within something for you to understand. They contain within something for you to be a whole man. Ooh, holy of holies, holy matrimony. Here's to you, Son, Father, giving light like a flower in frost she blooms, learning to be free. Do you remember the beating heart of Cosmic One? Do you remember, illuminated under the sun, these fearful factions? Do we know who our God is? Let's show them God's heartbeat through the rhythm of our feet. How many ways can you say God? As many ways as you can say love. The merchant ship sings you to slumber, assisting you to journey under the deep dark ocean. Do you remember a place where politics was love? You can be tender in relation to what is above. These hearts in the city, they've nearly stopped beating. Let's show them God's heartbeat through the rhythm of our feet. How many ways can you say God? As many ways as you can say love. Oh, here's to you, Son, Father, giving light like a flower in frost she blooms, learning to be free. Oh, false pretender, how long have you hidden your own thoughts? Why not be yourself? Even if it means you must realize you are already perfect. You have your purpose. Even in these dark times, love does have a plan. How many ways can you reach God? As many ways as you can share love. Ooh, Bless you. Bless you all. May we all pray together at the water's edge one day. May we meet at the well and hear the village gossip. And speak our prayers into those holy waters. And weep our tears if we must. May all beings be happy. May all beings be freed. Blessings.